So we're ready to do a little unboxing today and take a look at what we've got here. Today what we've got is the Osmo Action camera, and this is one of these cameras that you can use in extreme sports, or connect it to your hat when you're skiing, or whatever. It's direct competition for the GoPro. And these guys have been around for a while. This company is actually quite well known in the field of cameras that are used in things like drones and stuff. So they are really well known for creating a system where you can get really stable looking video that looks like it's mounted on a gimbal, even though that you're taking that video in a very rough place where things are bouncing up and down a lot. So it's pretty cool stuff. And this is their high-end camera. I'm going to just open this up and see what we got inside here. So let's just open the top here, the box. Just take me a minute here. Or your torso. So it's kind of an interesting addition there. Down here, we got a box, and in this box has all the little goodies that go with it. Right, so just inside the box is some documentation, and then you've got an adhesive mount, a little adhesive mount thing for mounting the camera, but you have the adhesive on the back so you can stick it somewhere. Another adhesive mount that has the 3 rings that can connect into the 2 ring here. So this is a standard connector. So one thing to point out is the connectors on this camera are the same as basically the connectors on a GoPro. So all the standard GoPro accessories should work with this camera as well. Here you've got the battery case, and inside that case, I believe, is a battery. And there's the battery after you open it. And then in here, you've got your charger cord, and let's see what else we got in there. So this is what comes out of that package that had the charger cord. So it's got this charger cord right here. One end is standard USB A, which would go into any standard charger receptacle, not included. And the other side is this USB-C connector, and that goes into the camera to charge the battery. The other thing you have is this little screw piece here, and that would be used if you connect the camera to this little pedestal here, and then what you would do is go here to you'll see at the other side you have a screw hole there, and by using this screw piece, as I'm holding the camera to show you this, this screw goes into this hole right here and locks that base down. All right. So that's about it for that part. Now the other one thing I'll point out is they don't give you any instructions with this, not even a quick start guide. So if you've never played with one of these cameras before, you may not realize that you got the camera, and then you've got a case here, that this case comes off. So to remove the case, it's pretty straightforward. You have a little clamp up here. You open that up, then the back of this case opens up, and the camera just pops out of there then. So there's the camera. The camera is actually quite small. And this case is, of course, important because it's got the 2 pieces here, the 2 little round pieces, which is how you connect it to any kind of mount. And if you were to break this or lose this, you can get another one. As I said, this camera is made to be interchangeable with all the modern GoPro stuff. So you can buy something else to replace it. All right, so here's your camera. There's your lens. You got a few buttons here and there. The battery goes in here on the bottom. Snaps right in there. And the other thing you have over here is, this is a little bit hard to figure out if you don't know. And as I said, there's no instructions in the box, so you're going to have to go online and figure this out. This little button here, if you push that in and pull it up, this piece up, then this slides down and you pull it up. And in there, what you've got is your USB-C connector, and your micro SD card would go into that hole there. So that's pretty much it for the unboxing here. And then the next point will be to show you the camera in action. All right, so I've had a little time to play around with the camera since I finished the unboxing, and I'm going to go through it a little bit with you now. So we saw this before. This is the camera. Down here is the battery compartment, and you just got to make sure you got that closed. So it closes with two clips here. There's a clip here, and there's a clip over here, and you have to make sure that the red part is not there. So they are both sliders. When you slide those, see it turns. You see the red there, and you slide this one, and then that battery just pops right out of there. So you put it back in, and if you put it in right, sliders are both back in. All right, so the buttons, we have nominal buttons here. We have a button over here which changes the mode. I'll show you that in a minute. We have a button over here that if we push down, this compartment opens up, and inside there, I think I showed you before, you got your USB-C connector, and you have your memory card, which takes a micro SD card. The slot is over here. I would say it's a little bit hard to get that card in and out, so the spring is not too spring loaded, but there you go. I pulled it out. The card I have purchased for this thing, you have to be pretty specific about what you get. This is a SanDisk Extreme card. This is a V30 card. You may be able to see that. This basically, you have to use a card that can write very fast. So if you're writing with this camera at say 4K video, 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second, it's going to be writing about a half a gig of data per minute. And so that's a huge amount of data, right? And so you definitely need a card that's very fast to work with this. So let's just put that back in the slot there and get it down there. You need a little bit of a fingernail, or if you don't have a good fingernail, you might use a screwdriver, but I got that. All right, so to turn it on, I've now pushed this button right here, and there it is. It's on. The little LED shows up here. This is your shutter button to take pictures or start your video, and that's really about it for buttons on this thing. Now, a few things I want to show you about this. So you got a nice big screen on the back. This screen is bigger than the screen on, say, the GoPro 7 or 8 series cameras, a little bit bigger than them. So that's nice. It's a touch screen. I'll show you that in a minute. What's really novel about this camera versus the competition is we hold this button over here for a couple of seconds. You see now we have a front-facing camera. And let's just turn that back around again by pushing that button again. So that front-facing camera allows us to take selfies, or if we have it on a selfie stick or whatever, we can frame our picture, right? So that's the beauty of that. And let's turn it back onto the back. All right. So that's a very cool thing, and you don't have that with the GoPro. So with the GoPro, you just have to hope you're in the frame and centered. Here you can actually see where you are. So there's the screen right there, and if we pull down from the screen, we get a variety of options. We can make presets by clicking on that little thing there that allows us to make our presets. This is just the brightness, that little star there. This just locks the screen. A lot of these are not that exciting. This one is the settings button right there. So if we click on that, we can go down here and we have a variety of settings. So you have voice control, quick switch. I mean, some of these things Don't need to really go through them, but you do have, wind noise reduction, various stuff here, face ID, so it keeps focused on the faces if it sees them, things like that. These are just, sort of how you set up the camera. So we can close that. If we slide over from the left, we get the options now for the camera. So if we're in video mode, those are going to be options for the video. We also, there's options for the video right there, and these are the options for the camera. And by default, it's auto, which most people are going to use. If you want to do manual, you click the little M there, and you have the manual settings. And one cool thing about this is the shutter speed. You see it's set at 100 here, but you can actually set the shutter speed to 1/8,000th of a second. So if you have bright light, somebody going really fast, a sports car race or something like that, and you want to capture the action, you can set this to 1/8,000. Now it doesn't have a huge sensor in the camera, so you need a lot of direct, a lot of light. This is not going to work in the dark. It's not going to work in a shady day, but you do have the option of bringing it all the way down there. So let's just put it back at 100 for now. All right, and then you can change the ISO max up to 3200, and so on and so forth. All right, we can, if we're done with that, we'll just, let's. I guess I haven't picked that yet. All right, so now let's put that away. If we slide in from the left, it's going to show us the video we've taken. So, for example, here's a video, and you can watch the videos on the camera, and just push the button and it starts, and we don't need to hear me talking. All right, so that's that. You can preview your videos. One thing I'll point out: there is no video out on this camera. There's no HDMI port. There's no other video out port. So if you want to save your videos, you have to take the micro SD card out of the camera and put it into a nice reader, or connect the USB-C cable. All right, so that's, if we can turn that around, and then if we point in from the bottom, this is going to give us our options for the video. So we have in this right now, I have it set at 1080p, but you have the option of spinning that around, so 2.7K, or in 4:3 or widescreen mode, and you have your 4K, or if we keep scrolling over there, and so on, and you can go all the way down to 720p. You also have your frames per second, which typically you're going to do 30 or 60 frames per second. If you want to do slow motion, then it can record up to 240 frames per second, and the video will be interpreted as having been recorded at 30 frames per second. So basically it gives it an effective slowdown factor of 8. Right here, you'll see you have this button, the RockSteady button. Now that's the stabilization, the electronic stabilization that the camera does when you're taking a video, and it's incredibly good. The company that makes Osmo has been in this business for a very long time, making stabilization software and cameras for the drones and things like that. And more recently they've gotten into the business of making these little cameras. But their RockSteady is really good, and it's at least as good as the equivalent feature on the GoPro. As I show you right here, you can change the frames per second, and you have all the options down to 24 frames per second. And again, if we want to get rid of that, stop seeing that, we'll just scroll that down. Now, as I mentioned before, you have this button over on the left, and if we push that button, not the button on top, which is a little hard to do. You'll have a lot more success doing this when you have both hands. I'm trying to do this with one hand. All right, so now we can scroll through. Let's go through here. So there's video, that a preset that I have is 180. There's regular video. There is slow motion. There's time-lapse, and time-lapse video takes only a screenshot every so many seconds.
And then we have hyperlapse. And so hyperlapse is very cool. And then photos. So hyperlapse is particularly cool. Hyperlapse, if you may know about, may not, it's like time lapse, but it allows for the orientation of the camera to move with the person taking the picture. So you're with regular time lapse to make any sense to the viewer, you pretty much have to sit in one place and have it on a tripod or something like that, and you're taking video from a single position. Hyperlapse is basically allows you to move around while you're taking the video. So you could run hyperlapse video while you're, say, on your bike, riding around, or anything like that, or on your skis or whatever. So hyperlapse is a very cool functionality, and you can go online and see more about that. Another thing worth pointing out is that the lens cover here actually just screws right off. This, this is a nice feature. It's very easy to remove, easier than the GoPros. And actually the GoPro 8, the newest one, doesn't even allow you to play around with that at all. So, if you're lucky, you'll never need to take that off. If maybe you don't need any special lens covers. But if you break it or whatever, it's quite easy to fix. So that's about it for the run through here. And then the next video, I will just show you a little bit of sample footage that I took while riding a bike, to show you with the RockSteady on, and you'll see how incredibly smooth the video gets. So this, that will be the third part of this video, and we'll be there in a minute.